Hello, this is for the 4th of July, the 5th Sunday after Trinity, and the Gospel is one of two halves really. It's the first 13 verses of Mark chapter 6, and in the first half Jesus returns to his hometown of Nazareth and gets a rather cold reception. He's the local boy with ideas above his station, they seem to think, and in his neighbours' response to his preaching you can almost hear the resentment that this son of a carpenter should dare put on airs and claim to speak for God of all people, especially amongst those who've known him since he was knee-high. Anyway, these first 6 verses end the opening section of Jesus' ministry in Galilee. Yes, there's been powerful teaching and some spectacular healings, but the opposition is building, primarily amongst the religious leaders, but also his own family even, and now his own community. But he's found some people who are receptive to him, who have gathered round him, a rather small and motley group, it must be said, and he's going to build on that. In the second half of the reading, perhaps in response to the rejection from Nazareth, Jesus goes to the villages round about, and he sends out his inner circle of 12 in pairs, and he sends them out in a rather terrifying way, not to take any money or food or extra clothing or even extra footwear, but to rely on the generosity of others as they travel the ways with Jesus' message. It must have been a hugely daunting prospect for them, though no doubt they were energised by seeing what Jesus was achieving and knowing that they go out in his name and his power. It's a very challenging passage for us today, for the church isn't primarily an institution or a voluntary organisation. It's a community of people called by Jesus Christ and sent out by him. That's who we're meant to be. So put on one side for a moment all the wonderful buildings like this one, and even the churchyards, and all the things that we have to maintain just to keep the ecclesiastical show on the road. Put on one side all the statutory stuff we have to do in the Church of England as the church by law established. Much as I'd like to lay a lot of this aside permanently, I can't, because it goes with the job. But I and we have to learn to sit light to it. We also need to sit light to things that much of the world regards as priority: money and clothing, and even food beyond the basics. What are our attitudes to money, food and clothing? We're very unlikely to go out without some money in our pockets, or at least a plastic card, and I suspect we all have at least one spare pair of shoes, not to mention a few coats and jumpers. So this is a real challenge for all of us. How open are we to this radical call of Christ? Truly to work together, to sit light to our possessions and any status we may have. How light can we travel? Alternatively, how burdened are we, either by our material goods or by our attitudes and expectations? Can we change our attitude to the things that we think we need, but which actually may just weigh us down? These are the questions and challenges that this passage and Jesus himself confront us with now. Amen.